Ever wonder why your grandfather's old tractor still fires up after sitting in the barn for decades? These iron workhorses weren't just built, they were engineered to outlast generations. Today we're counting down 10 legendary American tractor engines that refuse to quit, power plants that help build this nation one furrow at a time. Number 10, Continental H260 engine. The Continental H260 was a 260 cubic inch overhead valve, 4-cylinder powerhouse that Continental Motors Company perfected for agricultural use. With a bore of 3.875 inches and stroke of 5.5 inches, this engine produced 4445 horsepower at 1,500 RPM. Impressive numbers for the late 1940s. What made the H260 special was Continental's industrial heritage. They'd been building engines for everything from cars to military vehicles since 1905, bringing that battlefield-tested reliability to the farm. The H260 featured a gear-driven camshaft positioned low in the block for maximum protection from dirt and debris. The valve train used solid lifters that rarely needed adjustment, and when they did, any mechanic could handle it. Continental cast these blocks with extra thick cylinder walls. Some rebuilders have successfully bored them 0.125 inches over standard. The forged steel crankshaft rode on oversized main bearings designed for 10,000-hour service intervals in industrial applications. This engine's versatility made it legendary. Continental offered versions for gasoline, distillate, diesel, and LP gas. The diesel variant, designated HD 260, used a different injection system but shared the bulletproof bottom end. The wet sleeve design meant farmers could rebuild the engine without expensive machine work. Just drive out the old sleeves and install new ones. The H260 found its most famous home in the Massey Harris Model 44, produced from 1947 to 1955. Over 90,000 Model 44 tractors rolled off the line, spreading Continental reliability across North America. The engine also powered the Massey Harris 44 Special with its larger 277 cubic inch variant. Industrial versions appeared in everything from welders to compressors. Continental's commitment to parts support meant farmers could always get components, even decades after production ended. Today, finding a Continental H260 that won't start is rare, testament to an engine built when heavy duty meant something. Number 9, Minneapolis Moline 206 L-head engine. The Minneapolis Moline 206 was a side-valve 4-cylinder engine that proved simpler was often better, displacing 206 cubic inches with a 3.625-inch bore and 5-inch stroke. This L-head design produced modest power, around 50 to 59 horsepower, but delivered it with remarkable consistency. The side valve configuration meant all moving parts stayed low in the engine, protected from the elements and easy to access for maintenance. What set the 206 apart was its massive construction relative to its size. Minneapolis Moline cast these blocks with cylinder walls thick enough to handle multiple rebuilds. The L-head design eliminated complex valve trains. Valves sat beside the cylinders, operated directly by the camshaft through short, sturdy lifters. This simplicity meant fewer failure points. The engine used a thermosiphon cooling system on many applications, eliminating water pump failures through natural circulation. The 206's forged steel crankshaft was balanced for smooth operation at the low RPMs where tractors spent their lives. Main bearings were poured Babbitt that could be relined in farm shops with basic tools. The engine breathed through a simple updraft carburetor that any farmer could rebuild on the kitchen table. Minneapolis Moline designed this engine for distillate fuel, though it ran fine on gasoline, giving operators flexibility based on fuel prices. And this engine powered the entire Minneapolis Moline Z-Series, the Z, Z, ZB, and ZTU models built from 1936 through 1956. Over 20,000 Z-Series tractors use variations of this engine. The 206 earned particular fame in the Midwest, where its ability to start in sub-zero temperatures without special equipment became legendary. Parts interchangeability between models meant a vast reservoir of components existed. Industrial versions powered generators and pumps, often running continuously for months. Modern collectors report finding Z-Series tractors with original, never rebuilt engines still running smoothly after 80-plus years, the ultimate testament to overbuilding. Before we move on to the next one in the list, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you're enjoying this content so far, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch these videos without subscribing. Imagine what we could accomplish if everyone subscribed. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. Thanks to all of you who do. Number 8. Oliver Waukesha, 201.36 cylinder engine. Oliver's partnership with Waukesha Engine Company produced something revolutionary for 1935, a smooth 6-cylinder engine in an affordable farm tractor. The 201.3 cubic inch engine, with its 3.125-inch bore and 4.375-inch stroke, generated around 30 horsepower. But raw power wasn't the story. This inline 6-cylinder design delivered torque with a smoothness that made 4-cylinder tractors feel like paint shakers. Waukesha built these engines using techniques from their industrial engine division. The 7-main bearing crankshaft, unusual for the era, distributed loads evenly and eliminated vibration. Each main bearing was massive, designed for continuous operation in stationary applications. The overhead valve design featured hardened valve seats and stellate-faced exhaust valves that resisted recession even with poor fuel quality. The long stroke created tremendous lugging ability, pulling through tough spots without stalling. The engine's full-pressure lubrication system kept oil flowing to every critical component. Unlike splash systems common in the 1930s, this engine pumped filtered oil through drilled passages to every bearing surface. The cooling system used a gear-driven water pump and generous water passages cast into the block. Waukesha's industrial background showed in details like rifle-drilled connecting rods and precision ground camshafts that maintained timing for decades. This engine made the Oliver 70 series famous, powering the 70, 77, Super 77, and 770 models from 1935 through the early 1960s. Farmers voted on the tractor's paint scheme at county fairs, choosing green with red wheels, but they bought it for that Waukesha engine. Over 65,000 Oliver 70 series tractors spread this 6-cylinder gospel across America. The engine's smoothness made it popular for belt work, running threshers and sawmills where vibration mattered. Industrial variants powered oil field equipment and compressors. Today, collectors prize these engines because they run as smoothly as the day they left Waukesha, with many showing 10,000+ hours without major repair. Number 7. Buda-Lanova 6BD230 diesel engine. When Allis-Chalmers acquired Buda Engine Company in 1953, they gained access to the 6BD230, a 6-cylinder diesel that would revolutionize their tractor line. This 230 cubic inch engine, with its 3.4375-inch bore and 4.125-inch stroke, produced 45 horsepower using the unique Lanova combustion system. Unlike direct injection diesels, the Lanova design used an energy cell that created turbulence for better fuel atomization, resulting in easier starting and smoother operation. Buda had licensed the Lanova system in 1934, perfecting it through years of stationary and marine applications. The system used a small pre-combustion chamber connected to the main cylinder by a narrow throat. This design allowed lower injection pressures while still achieving complete combustion. The result was a diesel that started easier in cold weather than competitors' direct injection designs. The energy cell also permitted the use of a wider range of fuel qualities without smoking or knocking. The 6BD230 featured wet cylinder sleeves, allowing in frame rebuilds without removing the engine. The 7-main bearing crankshaft was forged from high-grade steel and precision balanced. Buda's engineering included piston cooling jets that sprayed oil on the piston undersides, preventing overheating during heavy loads. The robust injection pump, built by American Bosch, proved nearly indestructible with basic maintenance. This engine found its perfect home in the Allis-Chalmers WD-45 diesel, with 6,509 units built from 1954 to 1957. But its influence extended beyond agriculture. The same basic engine powered construction equipment, generators, and marine applications. Continental later acquired the design, enlarging it to 242 cubic inches. The Lanova system eventually gave way to direct injection, but these engines earned a reputation for longevity that persists today. Many WD-45 diesels still start instantly and run smoothly after 70 years, testament to Buda's engineering excellence. Parts availability remains good because the engine family saw widespread industrial use. Number 6. Case 124 4-cylinder engine. Case's own 124 cubic inch engine represented a philosophy of right-sizing that many manufacturers missed. With a 3.125 inch bore and 4-inch stroke, this overhead valve 4-cylinder produced around 24 horsepower, perfect for small to medium farms. Case engineers didn't try to squeeze maximum power from this displacement. Instead, they built an engine that could run all day at 75% capacity without stress. The engine featured chrome-plated piston rings and taco-hardened crankshafts, premium features typically reserved for larger tractors. The overhead valve design used hardened valve seats and rotators on the exhaust valves to prevent recession. Case cast extra material around the valve guides, allowing multiple replacements without weakening the head. The camshaft rode in 3 bearings instead of 2, reducing deflection and maintaining precise valve timing throughout the engine's life. Case designed this engine for simplicity. The governor, magneto, and carburetor mounted where farmers could reach them without gymnastics. The oil filter was a full-flow design when many competitors used bypass systems. The cooling system featured a large radiator with a thermosiphon assist, providing adequate cooling without relying entirely on the water pump. These engines would run on almost any grade of gasoline, from high-test to drip gas siphoned from natural gas pipelines. The 124 powered the entire Case VAC series, including the VAC 11, VAC 12, and VAC 14 variants built from the 1940s through 1956. Earlier models used Continental engines before Case developed their own. The VAC 14, with slightly larger displacement, became particularly popular. These tractors found homes on vegetable farms, tobacco fields, and small dairies where maneuverability mattered more than raw power. Industrial versions appeared as airport tugs and factory vehicles. The engine's compact size and reliability made it ideal for applications where space was limited. Today, VAC tractors are prized by collectors who appreciate their nimble handling and bulletproof engines. Parts remain available because Case built these engines with standardized components used across their model line. Number 5. International Harvester C152 engine. The C152 was International Harvester's masterpiece of simplicity and durability. This 152 cubic inch 4-cylinder engine powered more American farms than perhaps any other single engine design. With a 3.75 inch bore and 5.25 inch stroke, it produced between 19 and 26 horsepower, depending on fuel and compression ratio. But horsepower numbers don't tell the story of an engine that defined reliability for a generation of farmers. IH engineers built the C152 like a bank vault. The block featured thick cylinder walls cast from high-grade iron with generous cooling passages. The engine used replaceable cylinder sleeves, wet sleeves that could be pulled and replaced without machine work. This meant a worn engine could be rebuilt to factory specifications in a farm shop. The crankshaft was forged steel, riding in 3 main bearings sized for industrial service. Connecting rods were shot-peened for strength and fitted with precision insert bearings. The valve train epitomized simplicity. Overhead valves operated through short push rods from a gear-driven camshaft. Valve guides were replaceable cast iron, and the hardened valve seats resisted recession even with unleaded fuel. The full-pressure lubrication system delivered filtered oil to every bearing surface. IH's lift-all hydraulic system integrated with the engine, reducing parasitic loads compared to add-on hydraulics. This engine achieved its greatest fame in the Farmall H, with 391,227 units built from 1939 to 1953. It also powered the Farmall C, Super C, and various industrial models. The H became America's favorite tractor through word of mouth. Farmers told neighbors about engines that started every morning for decades. The massive IH dealer network ensured parts availability nationwide. The CC152's design influenced IH engines for generations. Today, more running Farmall H tractors exist than any other pre-war model. Finding one that needs major engine work is unusual. Most still run on original components after 80-plus years. That's not nostalgia talking, that's engineering excellence proven through millions of hours of field work. Number 4. John Deere 2-cylinder 465 engine. The massive 2-cylinder horizontal engine that powered the John Deere Model D redefined what overbuilt meant. Starting at 465 cubic inches and growing larger in later models, this engine produced its power through sheer displacement rather than high RPM. With bore and stroke measurements reaching 6.75 x 7 inches, each power stroke delivered tremendous torque. The engine produced 30-42 horsepower depending on the variant, but horsepower was almost irrelevant. This was about unstoppable pulling power. John Deere's horizontal two-cylinder design seemed primitive compared to contemporary 4- and 6-cylinder engines, but it was perfectly adapted to farm use. Fewer cylinders meant fewer parts to fail. The massive pistons and long stroke created torque at RPMs so low the engine would lug down to near stalling speeds and keep pulling. The huge flywheel, over 24 inches in diameter and weighing more than 100 pounds, stored energy between power strokes, maintaining momentum through tough spots. The engine's simplicity was genius. Thermosiphon cooling eliminated water pump failures. The gear-driven magneto provided reliable spark without batteries. Valve adjustment was straightforward, and the valves themselves were enormous, promoting good breathing despite low RPM. The crankshaft was a massive steel forging running and poured Babbitt bearings that could be relined on the farm. These engines burned kerosene after starting on gasoline, keeping fuel costs minimal during the Depression. The Model D enjoyed the longest production run in John Deere history, 30 years from 1923 to 1953. Over 160,000 were built in various configurations, including standard, industrial, and orchard models. Major updates in 1931 increased power and added features, while 1935 brought rubber tires as an option. The 1939 styling update from Henry Dreyfuss gave it the classic appearance, but the engine remained essentially unchanged. These engines were so robust that many have never been overhauled despite decades of use. Parts availability remains excellent because John Deere standardized components across models. The Model D's engine didn't just power a tractor, it established John Deere's reputation for building equipment that outlasts its owners. Number 3. John Deere 404. 6-cylinder diesel. The 404 cubic inch diesel that powered the John Deere 4020 represented a complete revolution in tractor engine design. After building 2-cylinder tractors for 40 years, John Deere spent 7 years and $40 million developing this inline 6-cylinder power plant. With a 4.25-inch bore and 4.75-inch stroke, it delivered 95 horsepower with turbine-like smoothness. This wasn't just an engine upgrade, it was a statement that American agriculture had entered a new era. The 404 featured wet cylinder sleeves that could be replaced without removing the engine or machining the block. This design allowed for future displacement increases through larger sleeves. The 7-main bearing crankshaft was forged from premium steel and precision balanced. John Deere's direct injection system operated at high pressure for complete combustion and excellent fuel economy. The engine block included extra material in high-stress areas, allowing for multiple rebuilds over decades of service. German diesel technology influenced the design, but John Deere's execution was purely American in its robustness. The cooling system was oversized for extreme conditions. The lubrication system delivered filtered oil under pressure to every bearing surface, including piston cooling jets. The injection pump, built by Rusa-Master, proved incredibly durable. Variable speed governing maintained consistent RPM for PTO work, while allowing quick response to load changes. The 4020 became John Deere's best-selling tractor of its era, with over 184,000 units sold from 1963 to 1972. The engine also powered the 4010, 4000, and various industrial models. Farmers who switched from gasoline to the 4020 diesel reported fuel consumption dropping by half while power increased. The synchro-range transmission let operators utilize all that power efficiently. Many 4020S show 15,000 plus hours on original engines, still starting instantly and running smoothly. The wet sleeve design means these engines can be rebuilt indefinitely. Parts availability remains excellent because this engine family continued evolving through the 1980s. When agricultural historians identify the tractor that modernized American farming, the 4020's 404 diesel engine stands at the center of that revolution. Number 2. Ford 124 cylinder Flathead. The 120 cubic inch Flathead 4-cylinder that powered the Ford 8N proved that advanced engineering could hide behind simple appearances. with a 3.1875-inch bore and 3.75-inch stroke, dimensions shared with one bank of Ford's famous V8. This L-head engine generated 27 horsepower. The side valve design might have seemed outdated by 1947, but it provided exactly what small farmers needed: reliable power from an engine they could maintain themselves. Ford's Flathead design placed valves beside the cylinders, operated directly by the camshaft through short, sturdy lifters. This eliminated complex rocker arms and lengthy push rods. The cast iron block featured replaceable cylinder sleeves, allowing rebuilds without expensive boring operations. The crankshaft was a robust forging running in 3 main bearings sized for durability rather than racing. Ford's automotive heritage showed in features like insert rod bearings and full-pressure lubrication, advanced for a tractor of this price. The cooling system used thermosiphon circulation assisted by a simple water pump. This belt-driven pump was the only cooling system component that could fail, and replacement took minutes. The electrical system was basic 6-volt, but the generator and starter were built for agricultural abuse. The engine's low 6.5-to-1 compression ratio meant it would run on low-grade gasoline without knocking, crucial when fuel quality varied widely. This engine achieved fame in the Ford 8N, with over 524,000 units built from 1947 to 1952. It also powered the earlier 9N and 2N models with minor variations. The 8N's success came from pairing this reliable engine with Harry Ferguson's revolutionary 3-point hitch. The combination created a tractor that small farmers could afford and maintain. Ford's massive parts distribution network meant every Crossroads garage stocked components. The Flathead simplicity made it a favorite for modifications. Farmers added everything from overhead valves to turbochargers. Today, more Ford 8 nanoseconds remain in working service than any other tractor from their era. Their engines start reliably after sitting for months, run all day on minimal fuel, and forgive neglect that would destroy modern engines. That's Henry Ford's vision, realized simple, affordable, and eternal. Number 1. John Deere 2-cylinder 320/1361 engine. The horizontal 2-cylinder engine that powered the John Deere Model A represents the absolute pinnacle of agricultural engine longevity, starting at 321 cubic inches and enlarged to 361 cubic inches. In later models, this masterpiece of simplicity produced 24-38 horsepower depending on the variant, with bore and stroke dimensions reaching 5.5xx6.75 inches in late models. Each cylinder displaced more than many complete motorcycle engines, but specifications don't explain why more of these engines run today than any other pre-war design. John Deere perfected every aspect of the 2-cylinder formula with the Model A engine. The massive pistons and long stroke created torque that seemed to violate physics. Operators reported pulling stumps at idle speed. The huge flywheel stored so much energy the engine would continue firing even if one cylinder misfired. The distinctive putt-putt sound came from those cylinders firing alternately. 360 degrees apart, creating a rhythm farmers could diagnose by ear. Engineering brilliance hid in the simplicity. The thermosiphon cooling system had no water pump to fail. The gear-driven Waukesha magneto needed no battery. Overhead valves, advanced for the 1930s, provided better breathing than Model D's Flathead design. The crankshaft was a massive forging running in poured Babbitt bearings that farmers could reline themselves. The all-fuel capability meant burning whatever was cheapest, gasoline to start, then kerosene or distillate for working. Even the oiling system was foolproof, with splash lubrication backed by pressure feed to critical points. The Model A's production from 1934 to 1952 totaled over 290,000 units in various configurations: row crop, standard, industrial, and high crop. Major improvements included increased displacement, electric starting, and hydraulic lift. The 1938 styling update from Henry Dreyfuss created the iconic, streamlined appearance. But throughout all changes, the basic engine design remained constant because it had achieved perfection. Parts interchange between years is remarkable. A piston from a 1952 might fit a 1934 engine. This standardization created an enormous parts reservoir that still exists. Modern collectors find Model A tractors in barns, pour in fresh gas, and watch them fire up after decades of neglect. Oil pressure gauges show full pressure on engines with 10,000 plus hours and no rebuilds. Machine shops report Model A, engines with cylinder walls still showing original honing marks after lifetimes of work. This isn't just reliability, it's engineering immortality cast in iron. These 10 engines didn't just power tractors, they powered the American century. Built when a handshake was a contract and quality meant something, they represent the best of American manufacturing. Whether it's the smooth Waukesha 6 or the thundering John Deere twin, each engine tells a story of innovation, determination, and pride. Today's tractors might have more features, but they'll never match the soul of these mechanical legends. Next time you hear one of these old engines running, remember, you're not just hearing history, you're hearing the heartbeat of rural America. If you enjoyed this journey through engineering excellence, hit that subscribe button and keep the legacy alive.